I didn't find out about my daughter's wedding from her. I found out because I was standing too close to someone else. I was in line at a cheap grocery store, the kind with flickering lights and carts that pulled to the left. I was holding instant coffee and canned soup. Nothing that stains. Nothing celebratory.
The woman in front of me laughed softly and tilted her form, so the man beside her could see. I wasn't trying to look. I really wasn't. But the aisle was narrow and the screen was bright. There she was. My daughter, white dress, short steps, flowers, and hair.
A man's hand on her lower back. For half a second I smiled. A stupid reflex. Then I realized what I was looking at. No invitation. No phone call. Not even a warning. My mouth went dry. My ears started ringing. I felt like someone had said my name out loud and everyone around me knew something I didn't. I shifted my basket to my other hand because suddenly it felt heavy, like I was holding evidence of something shameful. I stepped back too fast, bumped into a display of paper towels, muttered an apology to no one in particular. I stood there, a 65-year-old man pretending to study soup labels while my daughter was getting married without me. That's what shame does. It makes you very aware of where you are. Of how small your life looks from the outside. Of how easy it would be for anyone watching to assume you deserve this. At the checkout, the cashier said, "Big plans today?" I said no. I paid in cash so she wouldn't see my name. Back in my rented apartment, I locked the door like someone might follow me inside. The place smelled faintly of old paint and someone else's cooking from the hallway. One chair. One table. A window that faced a brick wall close enough to touch. I set the groceries down slowly. My hands were shaking now, and that made me angry. I opened the drawer and saw my fire department badge under old mail and a dead flashlight. 30 years. Fires. Bodies. Calls that never left you. I hadn't shaken like this then. I pushed the drawer shut harder than necessary. Here's where the choice started. Not the big one. The small, ugly one. I picked up my phone. I opened my contacts. I stared at my daughter's name. I thought, just ask. I thought, say congratulations. I thought, pretend you already knew. My thumb hovered. I actually started typing. "Hey kiddo." Then I deleted it. I imagined her reading it between speeches, between dances, and feeling irritated. Or worse, pity. So I did the next worst thing. I opened my ex-wife's contact. That surprised me. I hadn't planned that. I just wanted someone who had answers. Someone who would explain how this happened like it was a scheduling mistake, not a decision. I almost called. I swear I did. My phone was already against my ear when I stopped myself. I told myself calling now would make me look desperate. The truth was simpler. I didn't trust myself not to say something I couldn't take back. The message came an hour later. One line. "Call me immediately." That felt like a verdict. Not an invitation. Not concern. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. I imagined her voice. Controlled. Tired. Already prepared to explain why this wasn't really her fault. I didn't call. I sat there instead, listening to the building settle, telling myself I still had some control left. Afternoon turned into evening. I made coffee and forgot to drink it. I replayed memories I hadn't touched in years. Missed birthdays because of night shifts. Falling asleep in uniform. Coming home smelling like smoke. A marriage that didn't explode, just wore down to nothing. No cheating. No shouting. Just long stretches of feeling unnecessary. I started to wonder if this, being left out, was the natural ending of a life where I was always somewhere else. Then my phone rang again. A number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it. I was tired of surprises. But I answered anyway, because ignoring things is how you end up alone in the first place. It was an old captain from the department. A man who'd once dragged me out of a stairwell when the ceiling gave way. He didn't waste time. Just saw the wedding photos, he said. I waited for the rest. You were a good father, he added. Don't let this turn you into the villain in your own head. That was it. No comfort. No speech. Just a sentence that hit harder than the message before it. We hung up. The apartment felt quieter than ever. Somewhere across the city, music was playing. Glasses were clinking. My daughter was dancing without knowing I'd seen her dress, without knowing how close I'd come to calling and begging for a place in her day. I sat in that chair and realized something that scared me more than the silence. This wasn't over. Not the wedding. Not the lies. Not the call I hadn't made yet. And the longer I waited, the more I feared what I might say when I finally did. The phone started ringing before I was ready for it. I was still staring at her message, "Call me immediately," like it might change if I looked long enough. My thumb slipped. Not a decision. Just a slip. And suddenly the sound was in my ear, loud and final, like a door slamming somewhere I couldn't reach. I froze. Didn't breathe. Didn't move. One ring. Two. I told myself I could still hang up. That this didn't count yet. That accidents don't carry consequences. By the third ring my mouth was dry. By the fourth my shoulder was tight, pulled up without me noticing. When her voicemail clicked on, cheerful and practiced, I ended the call so fast it hurt my hand. I sat there staring at the phone like it had betrayed me. My heart was beating too fast. Not panic fast. Worse. That dull, heavy pounding you get when something old crawls back into your chest. I hated how quickly she still got to me. That embarrassed me more than the wedding. I told myself I'd call back later. When I was calmer. When I had the right words. That's always been my trick, waiting for the right moment until the moment passes. Firehouse instincts don't help with this. In a fire, you don't wait. You move. You grab what's in front of you and hope it's enough. But with her, I learned to pause. To choose words like they were stepping stones over something deep. I stood up, then sat back down. My knees didn't trust me. I wiped my hands on my jeans even though they weren't wet. My chest felt tight, like I'd swallowed something that didn't go down all the way. Here was the real choice, even if I didn't want to name it. Call her back and let her tell the story again. Or stay quiet and let the story keep growing without me. Silence had always felt cleaner. More dignified. But dignity doesn't do much once people stop recognizing it. I thought about our marriage in pieces, not in order. Her standing at the counter with her arms crossed. The sound of my boots by the door at midnight. Her saying my name like it was a complaint. Not screaming. Never screaming. Just that tired tone that tells you you're already wrong. People ask why we divorced, like they're looking for a crime scene. There wasn't one. No cheating. No fists. Just years of feeling like whatever I did was either too late or not enough. I worked nights. I missed dinners. I smelled like smoke and metal. She kept the house running. She kept the kids on schedule. And slowly, quietly, I stopped being a man and became a responsibility. I don't know exactly when it happened. I just know that one day I realized I was apologizing before I'd even spoken. The day I left, I packed a bag in the garage. My hands were shaking then too. Funny how the body remembers. Linda watched me from the kitchen doorway. "So you're just tired of us?" she said. Not a question. I tried to explain. I don't even remember what I said. Something about feeling invisible. Something about needing air. She shook her head like I was disappointing but predictable. Afterward, I thought time would fix it. That the kids would grow up and see that I hadn't disappeared. That I'd still paid for braces and winter coats. That I'd still shown up when someone was sick at 2 in the morning. I thought facts mattered. What I didn't understand was that stories are louder than facts. And silence sounds like permission. My phone buzzed again in my hand. I flinched. It was another message from Linda. Short. Sharp. "You need to call me," The words made my stomach twist. Not because I cared what she wanted. Because part of me still did. I walked to the sink and turned the water on for no reason. Let it run. The noise helped. I leaned forward, hands on the counter, breathing slow like I used to teach rookies. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. My reflection looked older than I felt. Or maybe I felt exactly as old as I looked. I picked up the phone again. This time on purpose. I told myself I wouldn't explain. I told myself I wouldn't apologize. I told myself. It started ringing. She answered on the second ring. "Where are you?" she asked. "No, hello." I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. I could hear music behind her voice. Laughter. Glasses clinking. The wedding was still happening, and she was calling me from inside it like I was an inconvenience that needed managing. "At home," I said finally. My voice sounded wrong. Thinner. She sighed. "You couldn't even show up." That landed hard. I felt it in my chest like a shove. For a second I actually wondered if I'd missed something. If there had been an invitation I'd ignored. My mind scrambled, looking for proof of my own innocence like it always did with her. "I wasn't invited," I said. There was a pause. Too long. Then, "That's not how she remembers it." My fingers tightened around the phone. I could have argued. I could have demanded she fix it. I could have said the thing I'd practiced in my head for years, that I didn't cheat, that I didn't abandon my family, that I left because I was shrinking. Instead I felt my throat close. I couldn't tell if it was anger or fear. "Linda," I said, and my voice cracked just enough to make me hate myself. "What did you tell them?" She didn't answer right away. When she did, it wasn't denial. It was deflection. "This isn't the time for that." Something in me snapped, not loudly, not cleanly. Just a quiet tear. I pulled the phone away from my ear and ended the call. No goodbye. No explanation. My hands were shaking now, full tremble. I set the phone down like it might burn me. 2 seconds later it buzzed again. A message. "Don't do this." Another. "If you wait, you'll miss your chance to fix what you broke." I stared at the words until they blurred. My chest hurt. Not dramatic pain. The kind that makes you wonder if something's actually wrong. I sat back down hard, breathing through my mouth now. What scared me wasn't her message. It was the thought that if I stayed quiet much longer, even I might start to believe her version. And that thought stayed with me long after the phone went dark. The first thing I heard that morning wasn't my alarm. It was my son's voice, tight, unfamiliar, coming out of my voicemail like a stranger had borrowed his mouth. "Dad, don't call Mom again. Just don't. We know what happened. We're not kids." I stood in my little kitchen with the phone pressed to my ear, staring at a mug I hadn't washed. My fingers went cold. Not the whole body, just the fingers, like my blood decided to retreat. That message was only 14 seconds long, but it knocked the air out of the room. You ever realize you're being talked about, and you weren't in the room for the conversation? That's what it felt like. Like I'd walked into the last act, and everyone already knew their lines. I replayed it. Then again. "We know what happened." The phrase kept thumping in my head. Know what? That I missed a wedding? That I left a marriage? Or the other thing, the one I'd never been accused of to my face until now. For a second I actually looked around my apartment, like the answer might be sitting on the couch. Like there'd be some note I mistaped to the fridge. "Here's why your son thinks you're a cheater." My mouth tasted like pennies. My stomach rolled. I had to sit because my legs felt wrong, like they belonged to a different man. My first impulse was to call him back immediately. Tell him he was wrong. Tell him to listen. Then I pictured my son hearing that old tone in my voice, orders, pressure, the way I turned fear into command. He'd heard it when he was 8 and I was trying to teach him to ride a bike in the driveway, sweating, impatient, saying, "You're fine. Keep going." He'd fallen. He'd cried. And I'd stood there, not knowing what to do with tears except tell him to be tough. I can still see his face. I can still hear my "oh." And I knew if I called back like that now, it would sound like guilt. So I didn't call. That was the choice, and it tasted like rust. Call and fight for my name, or stay quiet and let my own kid believe I was the kind of man who sneaks around. Silence had protected my pride before. Now it was poisoning me. I walked to the sink and ran cold water over my hands until my knuckles ached. My heart was still pounding, but at least the water gave me something to do with it. I kept rubbing my palms together, like I could scrub the accusation off my skin. I opened an old photo box like it could defend me. Birthday candles. A cheap plastic fire helmet on my daughter's head. My son in a too-big jacket, grinning. There I was in the background, tired, smiling, present in the ways I knew how. I wasn't perfect. I missed things. I showed up late. Sometimes I came home and sat in the dark because the noise in my head needed somewhere to go. But I never cheated. Not once. The idea of it made my stomach turn. The phone buzzed. A text from my daughter. One sentence, polite like a business email. "Please stop upsetting Mom. Today was hard enough." "No. Dad? No. I'm sorry." Just a request to manage my existence. I read it twice, then put the phone face down on the table like it could infect the room. My throat burned. I swallowed and it didn't help. Here's the part I'm not proud of. For a few minutes, I considered swallowing it. Let them believe what they wanted so I wouldn't have to beg for a hearing. You're old, I told myself. Let it go. Don't make yourself smaller trying to prove you're not small. Then another thought came, quieter but stronger. If I let this stand, I don't just lose a wedding. I lose my name. A man's name is the last thing he owns. And once your own kids hand it back like it's dirty, you don't get it clean again by waiting. I picked up the phone again. My hand shook. I waited until it steadied. I didn't want my voice to shake. I didn't call my son. I didn't call my daughter. I called Linda. My thumb hovered over her number like it was a live wire. I could still choose silence. I could still keep that small, stubborn dignity, refusing to argue with someone who'd already decided I was the villain. But dignity isn't worth much if it costs you your children. I hit call. It rang twice. On the third ring I almost hung up, pure reflex, like yanking your hand away from heat. She answered. What? Not hello. Not my name. Just, what? Linda, I said. Did you tell them I had someone else? A pause. Not long, but long enough. Then she said very calmly, Why would you ask me that? My stomach dropped. That wasn't confusion. It was strategy. Because my son left me a voicemail, I said. And he thinks he knows something. And my daughter won't even call me Dad today. I heard faint noise behind her, people, a TV, a clink of dishes. Life continuing while mine sat here waiting. Then she exhaled slow. You're doing this now? I'm doing it now because it's in their heads now, I said. And if you put it there, you need to take it out. She went quiet then said, I didn't say you cheated. I said you left. My throat tightened. And you let them fill in the rest. Her voice sharpened. You want to be the hero, she said. But you weren't there. The words hit like a shove. Anger flashed hot, the old instinct to push harder, louder. I held it down. This wasn't a fire. This was a family. Listen to me, I said. I'm calling our son after this. I'm telling him the truth. If you care about him, you'll back me up. A short laugh. Or what? I took a breath. My hands were steady now. Too steady. Or you'll be the reason he loses his father, I said. And you'll know it. The line went quiet. Then, softer, she said, Don't call him. Not yet. My chest tightened. Why? Another pause, heavier. Because, she said, he's here. My mind went blank for a beat. Where? At my house. she answered. He came after the reception. He's upset. My hand started shaking again. I stared at the brick wall outside my window as if it could turn into a road. You're telling me this now? I said. I told you to call me. She snapped, then, worse, softened. Just don't make it worse. There it was. The next choice. Rush over like a firefighter running towards sirens, or stay back and speak carefully, because this wasn't smoke. This was my son. My name. My last chance. I swallowed hard. Put him on the phone, I said. Linda didn't answer right away. I heard her cover the receiver, heard a muffled voice, his voice, then nothing. My stomach dropped again. He doesn't want to talk, she said. I stared at the phone like it was a brick. I opened my mouth and nothing came out. I could feel my pulse in my throat. Then tell him I'm coming, I said, and even as I said it, I didn't know if that was the right move or the worst move. Don't, she warned. And in that moment, with my hand shaking and my key suddenly too loud on the table, I realized I was about to do something I couldn't undo, show up uninvited again, this time at her door, because the alternative was sitting here while my son decided who I was. I didn't hang up. I didn't say goodbye. I just stood there, listening to her breathing on the other end, and wondering whether the next hour would save my name, or bury it for good. I was already halfway to the door when she said my name. Not loudly. Not angry. Just my name, through the phone, like a hand on my sleeve. Wait, Linda said. I stood there with my keys in my fist, the metal biting into my palm. My jacket was already on. Shoes still untied. My heart was beating hard enough that I could hear it in my ears. I didn't know if stopping was the smart thing or the cowardly thing. I just knew that if I walked out right then, I might not get another chance to say what actually mattered. Say it, I told her. My voice didn't sound calm. It sounded held together. There was a long pause. Not the kind where someone is thinking of the right words. The kind where someone is deciding how much truth they can survive. I shouldn't have done that, she said. I leaned against the wall because my legs suddenly didn't trust me again. Done what? I shouldn't have let it go that far, she said. I shouldn't have let them think more than they knew. That wasn't an apology. Not yet. It was a door cracked open, nothing more. I closed my eyes. The room smelled like dust and old paint. Somewhere outside, a car passed, tires hissing on pavement. Normal life, continuing like this conversation wasn't about to tilt everything. Linda, I said, tell me the truth. All of it. Not the version you rehearsed. She exhaled. I could hear it clearly. A tired sound. A sound I remembered from nights when we lay back to back in bed, both awake, both pretending sleep was the problem. I was angry, she said. Not at you leaving. At how it looked. I waited. You left quietly, she went on. You didn't fall apart. You didn't beg. You didn't come back. My jaw tightened. I said nothing. And people asked questions, she said. My friends. My sister. Even the kids when they were older. They wanted a reason. They wanted something concrete. So you gave them one, I said. Her voice wavered. Just a little. I gave them space to draw conclusions. There it was. Not a lie exactly. Something worse. An omission that let other people do the dirty work. My stomach twisted. I felt it low, heavy. The kind of feeling that makes you want to sit down and stand up at the same time. Did you ever correct it? I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. No, she said. Because by the time it went that far, it was already protecting me. From what? From looking like the woman who got left, she said. From being the one who wasn't enough. The words landed heavier than any accusation. Not because they excused anything. Because they made sense in a way I didn't want them to. I thought of all the times I'd swallowed my side of the story because I didn't want to make her look bad. All the times I told myself the truth would surface on its own. I felt something in my chest loosen and tighten at the same time. "So you let them think I cheated?" I said. I kept my voice flat. "Because it was easier than letting them think you were unwanted." Her breath hitched. "I didn't say you cheated. You didn't stop it," I said. Silence. Thick now. Pressing. "I was afraid," she said finally. "Afraid that if they knew the truth, that you left because you felt small, because you felt erased, they might ask me why. And I didn't have an answer that didn't make me look cruel." I ran a hand down my face. My fingers were cold. My skin felt tight, like I'd been out in winter air too long. "For years," I said, "you let my kids believe something about me that isn't true. I didn't think it would go this far," she said quickly. "Too quickly. I thought time would blur it. I thought. You thought silence would keep doing the work," I said. She didn't argue. That told me everything. Here was the choice again. The real one this time. The one that didn't come with clean edges. I could explode. I could list every quiet sacrifice, every night I'd come home too tired to fight and still tried. I could demand she fix it immediately. Or I could listen. Not because she deserved it, but because our children did. "I'm not calling to punish you," I said slowly. "I'm calling because this ends now." She started to cry then. Not loudly. No dramatics. Just that soft, broken sound that slips out when someone realizes the thing they built to protect themselves has turned on them. "I didn't want to lose you completely," she said. "I thought if you came back, even out of guilt, I wouldn't be alone with it." That one hurt. More than the rest. "You wanted me to return smaller," I said. "Ashamed enough to fit." She didn't deny it. For a moment neither of us spoke. I could hear her breathing. I could hear my own. I felt tired down to the bone. Not the tired you sleep off. The tired that comes from carrying the same weight in silence for too long. "Listen to me," I said. "I'm not coming back like that. I'm not coming back at all. But I am not letting my name rot." "What do you want me to do?" she whispered. I swallowed. My throat burned. "You're going to tell them the truth," I said. "Not your truth. Not my truth. What actually happened. And if they don't believe me, then you tell them again," I said. And again. Because this was your silence. Not mine. She was quiet for a long time. Long enough that I wondered if she'd hung up. "I'm scared," she said. "So was I replied. "For years." Another breath. Then, "I'll tell them." I didn't feel relief. Not really. I felt something colder. Heavier. Like a door closing that I'd kept cracked open in my own head. "I'm going to call our son tomorrow," I said. "Not tonight. Tonight he needs space." She agreed. Too quickly. I noticed it, but I let it go. We said goodbye without saying goodbye. The line went dead. I stood there with the phone still in my hand, my keys forgotten on the table. I sat down slowly. My legs shook when I did. My chest felt empty in a new way, like a room after furniture's been hauled out. Not peaceful. Just bare. I don't know yet if she'll do what she promised. I don't know how much damage can actually be undone. All I know is this: the truth is finally moving. And once it starts, it doesn't care who gets uncomfortable first. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay on top of the blanket in my clothes, phone on my chest like a weight. Every time the building creaked, my eyes opened. Every time a car passed outside, I thought it was someone pulling up to tell me I was too late again. In the morning, I sat at the little table by the window and watched my breath fog the glass. It wasn't that cold, but my hands were. The coffee tasted burnt. I drank it anyway, because doing something is easier than waiting. Linda had promised she'd tell them the truth. Promised. A word that used to mean something to me. Now it sounded like paper, thin, easy to tear. Here was the choice in front of me, and it wasn't dramatic. It was ordinary. Quiet. I could call my son like I said I would, and risk hearing him say my name like it didn't belong to him anymore. Or I could wait for Linda to do it first, and keep my hands clean. Waiting would feel safer. Waiting would also feel like hiding. I stared at my phone until my eyes hurt. You know that moment, when you're about to step off a curb and you hesitate because you're not sure the driver sees you. That's what dialing felt like. I hit my son's number. 1 ring. My throat tightened. 2. I almost ended it. My thumb hovered, ready to run. 3. He answered, and for a second all I heard was breathing. Then his voice, low. Yeah? I swallowed. My mouth was so dry the words stuck. It's me. A pause. Not angry. Just distance. I know. I'm not calling to fight, I said. I'm calling because you deserve to hear it from me. He didn't respond. I heard a door close on his end. Mom said you left for someone else, he said finally. He didn't say it like an accusation. He said it like a fact he'd carried too long. She's been saying it for years. My chest tightened so hard I had to lean forward. I didn't, I said. Simple. Plain. I never did. Silence. I swear on everything I've ever had, I added, and my voice cracked on the last word. He exhaled sharp. Then why didn't you come around more? There it was. The real wound, under the rumor. I could have defended myself. Listed shifts. Listed bills. That would have been the old me, treating love like a report. Instead I said the thing I've avoided for years because it makes me look weak. Because I was ashamed, I said. Not of you. Of myself. I didn't know how to show up when I felt unwanted. And I told myself staying away was dignity. It went quiet. Then he said softer, That's not dignity. No. It wasn't. It was fear wearing a clean shirt. I'm sorry, I said. I should have fought harder to be in your life. Even if your mom hated me for it. He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice sounded tired. She texted me last night, he said. Said she lied? Said she let us think that. My eyes closed. My shoulders dropped like something unclenched. So you know now, I whispered. I know she said it, he replied. I don't know what to do with it. Neither did I. I'm not asking you to fix it today, I said. I'm just asking you to keep the door unlocked in your mind. Another pause. Then, very quietly, Where are you? In my apartment, I said. He hesitated. You want to get coffee? Not today. Maybe this week. My throat burned. Yeah, I managed. Yeah, I'd like that. We hung up. I didn't feel happy. I felt stunned, like my body didn't know what to do without the weight it's been carrying. After that call, I just sat there, phone on my knee, listening to the refrigerator hum. My shoulders ached like I'd been carrying gear again. I kept waiting for another text, another correction, something that would shove me back into the old story. Nothing came. Just my breathing, rough and uneven. For once I let it. A few hours later my daughter texted. One line. Dad, can we talk tonight? My stomach dropped again. Not fear this time. Something like grief. I walked outside before calling her. I needed air. The day was gray and ordinary. People carried bags, walked dogs, argued about parking. Life didn't care about my family drama. In a strange way, that helped. Before my daughter picked up, I wiped my face with my sleeve like a teenager, angry at myself for it. My hands were still shaking, not from fear of her, but from the thought that I might hear her smile at me the way she used to, and I wouldn't know what to do with it. She answered on the first ring. Hi, she said. Her voice was careful. Hi, kid, I said. I didn't know, she said. About the cheating thing. I knew Mom believed it. I didn't know she made it sound certain. I'm not calling you to hate your mother, I said. She's still your mother. I know, she whispered. But why didn't you just tell me? Why didn't you show up? Because I was proud, I wanted to say. Because I was tired. Because I didn't want to beg for a chair at my own child's table. Instead I said, because I thought you'd already decided, I admitted. And I couldn't stand hearing it out loud. She was quiet. Then she said, I looked for you. On the day I got engaged. I kept checking the door like a little kid. My chest clenched. My eyes burned. I stared down at the sidewalk so no one would see my face. I'm sorry, I said again. I'm not asking you to go back to Mom, she said quickly. I'm not asking you to pretend everything's fine. I want my dad. Those words should have fixed everything. They didn't. They made me ache. Here was the last choice. I could let this become a path back into the old story, move closer, soften, slip into familiar roles, return to a house where I'd been shrinking for decades. Or I could do the harder thing, take my kids back without trading my peace for a second marriage held together by guilt. I'll be your dad, I said, voice steady now. I'm not going anywhere. But I can't go back to your mom the way she wants. Not to punish her. Because I can't live like that again. She breathed. Okay, she said, small. Can we start with dinner? You and me. No speeches. I'd like that, I said. After we hung up, I sat in my car and watched the windshield wipers swipe at nothing. My phone stayed quiet, and for once the quiet didn't feel like a sentence. That evening, Linda called. Her name lit up on the screen. My hand hovered. Old habit. Old gravity. I could answer and get pulled into her regret, her need. Or I could let the silence stand, not as punishment, but as a boundary. I let it ring out. Then I texted my son one simple line. Coffee this week. Your call on the day. I'm here. He replied 10 minutes later. Thursday. That was all. And for the first time since that grocery store line, I didn't feel erased. I felt unfinished. Like there was still work to do, not to win anyone back, but to show up with both hands open. If you've ever watched your own life happen without you, then you know this part. You don't get a clean ending. You get a choice. One small, stubborn step at a time.